actually made poison good in this game, which is also like a concept that I didn't expect. Speaking of concepts, I have a question for you guys, and it's a very serious question, and I think it is one that has already been answered for us, but to what extent we don't know. And it is, given how mana and stuff works in some of these mods, like Cinders, Convergence, stuff like that, with it like passively regenning, is that something that you all would want to see in like a base game such as Elden Ring? Do you think Elden Ring's magic systems would benefit or be hindered by a mana regen system? Because I can understand why they do it, and I can understand why they don't do it. Why they do it is because, at least in the mods, is because it ups the fun factor. There's a fun factor increase that you just... Get off of me. I understand why they do it in the mods. The mods don't have to be balanced. They don't have to be perfect. They can go outside of the conventions because it isn't the base game. They can build upon the base game in a way that makes it more fun for the modder and supposedly the community that ends up deciding to play it. But it has widely been like praised, starting with Cinders and moving into Convergence, that having the regenning mana bar would make several aspects of the game better in a lot of ways. Not only would it make magic more viable, but it could also potentially make it so that weapon arts, which didn't get a lot of use in Dark Souls 3, I think in part due to the mana cost and requirements for them, could be a lot more viable as well. But I understand why they might be hesitant to go this route. I know from a balancing perspective, that adds another balancing mechanic. Here, with just like static mana use, you have to fill it up. You have to go and manage both a mana flask and a healing flask. I get that kind of simplifies the situation as far as spells go, as far as weapon arts go. It adds another moving part when you add the regen system, because then you, while you are able to add more items to the loot pool that will improve on that mechanic, you also have to balance around people theoretically having infinite uses of a cast. Now, I like the mana bar. I do. I like it better than like X amount of casts, and if you want more casts, then you equip a second version of the spell. I like it way better than that. So the mana bar is a big improvement over that. But having it be a regen, I think, me personally, from playing this, I think would be a good thing if the game was exclusively PvE. Because this is one of the most fun that I've had with Dark Souls 3 in a very long time. And this is the most fun I've had with a caster build in a very long time, because I know I can completely run the gauntlet exclusively using spells. And that's really neat. That's a unique playstyle that I've never gotten to experience before. From a PvE perspective, I see no reason why that shouldn't be the case. I like it better than, because technically, even if you like throw everything into the blue flask, for one, you're sacrificing heals, which if you're good enough, you don't really need the heals, but you're still sacrificing heals. And it kind of breaks up the flow of combat. Like right now, I have the passive mana regen plus a ring that gives me FP anytime I kill something. That's all I need. I'm able to pretty well do whatever I want as long as I'm killing enemies and being consistent with my spell hits. I'm rarely ever going to run out. It makes bosses a little bit difficult because I am not going to have that like quick throw out succession unless it's a boss that has like a bunch of grunt-like enemies, which very few bosses do that. I'm dead. But unless it is a boss with a bunch of grunt enemies, this I will run out of mana eventually, and I will have to wait out getting more mana eventually. So the boss difficulty is still going to be there. You're still going to have to wait things out. But I feel like the thing that really is holding From Software back from doing this is the PvP scene. I have a feeling that infinite casts would be a large detriment to the PvP scene. Or at least I feel like From Software feels that they would be. And I don't really believe that. I don't believe that at all. Because, at least in the current PvP scene with Dark Souls 3 and stuff, there are plenty of almost pure caster builds out there. And if they're built correctly, they won't run out of mana. They won't run out of FP. They have achieved the effect of the infinite mana without having the regen. It's just, it's basically doing the same thing with extra steps. And I know what you're saying. Well, that's a stat increase. They had to make a build with that specifically in mind. That is the balancing mechanic. They had to sacrifice other stats in a way to make it so that they are able to viably do that. And you're right. That is the case, but even with like this caster build that I'm doing here, I'm still sacrificing stats to be able to get more spell slots, a larger FP bar, stuff like that. It's gonna be roughly the same stat investment. And then for people that don't like magic builds or stuff in PvP, they're going to say, well, that's the counterplay. If they run out of their mana, they are going to need to stop and use some sort of resource to refill their mana, and that's going to be an opportunity for them to be countered. And that's true. That is very true. Does that need to be the case? Probably. But in a PvP situation, especially in an arena-style situation, fuck my whole ass. Fuck my whole ass. In an arena-style situation, again, unless you have something that is going to increase your mana by just attacking itself, you are going to run out and have to wait things out. That wait out time is going to be your opportunity to strike a magic user in a PvP type scenario. And if they do have resources that are going to refill their FP bar, it's going to function exactly the same as it does right now. My mindset on passive regen of mana or FP or whatever you want to call it is it is only a net gain for the game. It is only going to be something that improves the game overall, in my opinion, because it's going to make magic users more viable in a PvE situation. In PvP, they're going to function very much the same as they always do. There might be a few more casts that you can get out of something in a PvP scenario, but it's not going to be like any more of a spam fest than it already is. At least that's my opinion. And I feel like the only people that really are against buffing mana in this way are people that exclusively use regular weaponry and don't really delve into magics all that much, whether it be casting or buffing or anything like that, the more weapon purists. And to this I challenge you. With the way Elden Ring is working out, you are going to be able to mix and match weapon arts, basically. They're going to be a free resource that you are able to equip to almost any weapon in the game. Would you not want to get more uses out of those weapon arts? Or would you rather still use them 3 or 4 times and then never use them again? Because you're not a caster, so you're not speccing into a blue flask. You're not speccing into mana resources. I feel like everybody wins. I feel like the weapon purists that only use weapons can still get use out of this, because unless they change things drastically in Elden Ring, you're still going to need mana to use your weapon arts. And this is going to benefit you. If you're a caster, you definitely are going to benefit from the passive regen. And in a PvP scenario, I know a lot of the weapon arts in Dark Souls 3 were most used in the PvP scene. That is where they found the most viability. They weren't very useful in PvE most of the time, but boy howdy, were they useful in a PvP sense. Whether they're shield break weapon arts, whether they're quick dodge weapon arts, whether they are weapon arts that completely like make you invulnerable to being staggered. There's a lot of weapon arts that got a lot of use in the PvP scene, and I feel like having a regening mana bar is going to make those even more viable. Honestly, potentially more viable than what mage builds would be with a regening mana bar. Because like I said, I feel like mage builds are going to behave very similar to what they already do in Dark Souls 3. I feel like they are going to change very little, because people that want to make a mage build a spam are already going to have that. It's just going to give them less steps. And honestly, it'll make it so that more spells can be supplemented into a regular build. Maybe you weapon purists won't be so afraid to... Well, not afraid. Fuck! It's a boss, god damn it. Maybe some of you weapon purists won't be as concerned to put a spell or two into your rotation, because you won't have to worry about that, that resource push. You got this, bud. We are committing, and we are winning! Yes! What was I talking about before the boss? Like, what was I specifically saying? Oh, that's right. Talking about people being concerned to put spells into their build. I feel like having mana regen, even if it wasn't in a way that, like say, take a strength faith build. You would be more inclined to put, say, lightning arrow or soul spear, or maybe like oh, that one lightning spell that like crashes at like your feet. You like throw it on the ground and it like AoEs out, that spell, or Wrath of the Gods, or anything other like that. You would be more likely in a strength faith build to incorporate those into your build, or a weapon that has a very powerful weapon art, like Velstat's hammer, for instance, where it makes basically a mini wog. You could use that more often. It would give you that viability, and it would just open up more mechanics that I think they're really wanting to push more heavily in Elden Ring to the player. It would make it so that weapon arts can be more freely used without having to be concerned about running out of mana, or just ignored altogether because, oh, I can only get 2 or 3 uses out of it and then they're done. I feel like everybody wins with passive mana regen. I think the blue flask was a good start, but it wasn't enough. I do think that this would be the route to go. And God forbid they go into a route where they actually digress and make it so that you have to farm mana regen items like what you do in Demon Souls and stuff. While that can be a solution to infinite mana, nobody enjoys farming for that kind of stuff. It was the same reason people had issues with farming blood vials in Bloodborne. Nobody really gets fun out of that. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on mana and mana regen, and why I think that having mana regen in Elden Ring could be a very good thing for build variety and player satisfaction overall. Because like I said, playing through Cinder's mod right now, this is a playstyle I never thought to do, just because I knew how resource intensive it would be and how much I would have to sacrifice to make it viable in the base game. And Cinder's mod allows me to live this battle mage fantasy, and I'm all about that, and I want more people to be about that without having to download a mod. But anyways, that's my 2 cents on it. Thank you for listening, Tenta Crew. Much love.